What's up, guys? Welcome back to Hammer Time DIY. I'm your host, Taj. Thanks for joining us. And in today's episode, I'm going to be showing you guys how you can build beautiful furniture on a budget. It's going to be a little bit different from our typical rehab and refresh process, but we are still going to be under the 24-hour timeline. I always like to set a hard goal to do projects in one day to show you can tackle this on your off days, on a weekend, and just do projects under a certain time constraint. So that being said, I'm taking you guys with me vlog style. We're going to head out to Home Depot, pick up the materials, and then we'll come back here and we'll begin to build. All right, guys, without further ado, let's head out to Home Depot. And yeah, let's go pick up everything we need. All right, let's go. All right, in this first step, you're gonna take your speed square and then we're gonna be creating mitered angles on our 1x6 boards. These are the most complex cuts, so we'll be starting with those. I am just gonna start to mark those out with our speed square. So take your speed square, go here, go right up to that corner, okay? And then we're just gonna mark it down, okay? Just like that. All right, guys, let's jump into it. All right, so we got our boards marked out. Everything is ready to be cut. I'm gonna start with my handsaw. The hard work goes first, so I'm using my Japanese handsaw, and I'll be using my speed square as a guide. Got this board clamped down to my little work table, and I'm just gonna be, I don't know if you can see that line there, I'm just gonna be making a cut on that line, trying to keep it as accurate and precise as possible. So yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna use my speed square, and we'll line it up with the marking, and we'll start to make our cuts. I always like to be honest and like forthcoming in my videos. So I'll be honest, the Japanese handsaw, while it is probably the cleanest cut you can get, it is a bit of labor of love. So you're gonna work hard doing this. I'm gonna continue on with the Japanese handsaw. We'll do everything in time lapse because it does take a little bit longer than just using like a miter saw or even a miter box. I can use my circular saw, but again, I think the cuts have just come out a lot more accurate and a lot cleaner, and a lot less headache or worrying about making a miscut. But yeah, I'm new to woodworking, so I'm taking it slow. My arms are going to be on fire at the end of this, but I'm having fun doing it, so I'm going to continue on with these cuts. All right, guys, let's jump back into it. All right, guys, checking back in with you all. So our top and bottom boards are done. We got those mitered up. And now we're going to do our vertical boards. They're going to get mitered as well. We're going to use the same Japanese handsaw technique. So yeah, I'll edit that in right now. We're going to do time lapse. And then, yeah, I think from there we can start to make some other cuts. All right, so we made our markings. As you can see, these are going to be, again, the fascia boards. So these are the shorter sides. And now what we're going to do is take our circular saw, go ahead and rip these down to size. And then after that, we can go back to our Japanese handsaw and continue to just cut our miters out. So I'm going to go ahead and rip these down in time lapse. And then after that, guys, the fun part begins. We can start to assemble. Let's hope everything comes together nice and smooth, but so far, so good. All right, let's get into it. All right, now for the fun part. We're at the point where we're ready to assemble. I'm gonna pick the best boards, meaning like they don't have a bunch of knots or anything like that, anything that's gonna disrupt the wood grain pattern. I made the cuts, again, specific to my dimension. You should have, at the end of this project, you should have 8 straight cuts. This is gonna serve as the length and the height of your piece. And then you should have the miter cuts, which are going to serve as the fascia boards for your piece. You should have 8 of those as well. So 16 pieces in total. Again, if you could build a box, you could do this. The first step we're going to make is creating the outer box. And I'm going to give you a demonstration of how we do that now. So we're going to do a big outer box, smaller inner box, and then we're going to trim it out with these fascia boards. Super simple to follow. If you could build a box, you can build this. All right, so as you can see, we got the larger outer box built. And next step we're gonna take is building the smaller inner box before we put on our face boards. All right, so we got our inner box built. It's a little bit smaller. Again, just take your measurements and everything should be good. Now I'm going to put the larger box over top of the inner box and just lay one within another. It's a pretty easy build. Sorry about the time-lapse footage there. But basically, same process. You're just building a box, nothing special. Make sure everything is square by using your speed square. Make sure to pre-drill and you'll be good to go. All right, so next step, we're gonna lay everything out how we want it to be, and then we're gonna go get our miter pieces, and we're approaching the home stretch of this project, so it's going pretty good. All right, let's get into it. So as you can see, I started to do a little bit of demo, just trying to see how everything aligns, make sure everything is proper. I think we're all good to go. Should be perfectly aligned. So just gonna start to lay out my boards and see how this goes. All right, guys, stay with me. All right, guys, so as you can see, I flipped this over, and just to give you an idea of what I'm trying to do here, this is on the longer side in terms of a furniture piece with no like center support. So basically what I'm doing is adding a little bit of blocking off of the scrap wood that I have from our cuts, and I'm just chopping it down to size, and I'm checking for measurement. Again, our boards are 6 inches, but really they're not true, so it's 5.5. So I'm gonna block this off and just make sure that this is still, again, it's gonna compress down a little bit. So I just wanna make sure that it's still at 5.5 inches so that my board's covered completely and I don't have any weird gaps or anything like that or any overlap. So looks like we are just under 5.5 inches. So I'm gonna fasten that in, and yeah, let's keep it rolling. All right, let's go. All right, guys, so as you can see, we got everything assembled. This thing is super solid. It's super sturdy. I like it. It's still lightweight because it's hollow on the inside, but it looks good. I think it came out great. Now, as you can see from the shavings on the floor, I started to use my hand planer just before we go into the sanding step to level everything out. So wherever these boards meet the surface, I want that to be kind of like as flat as possible. Sanding this would take a lot of time. So what the hand plane does basically is just planes the board. It takes it down to a more even surface. So I'm just going over anywhere where there's a lip. As you can see, my nail is catching right there, and I want it to be more like smooth. Okay. So hope that makes sense. And that's what we're going to do before we go into the sand and fill step for this. So I'm going to continue with that. We'll go time lapse again. And yeah, let's dive into it. All right, let's go. All right, so as you can see, we got a lot of stuff knocked down basically. So that is really rough. I didn't go too crazy with the planer. Still gonna do 80 grit all the way up to 220. So as well as like wood fill and everything with the hole. So that being said, you don't need to go like berserk with it. I'm just using it to save myself a little bit of time on sanding with dust and everything. And so yeah, that being said, that step is done. What we're gonna do now is actually take our 1x3s that I showed you earlier, and we're gonna make our base for this. So we're gonna do some pre-drilling, some cutting, and then just same concept here, make a square, attach it to the base of this, and then we'll be good to go. All right, let's get into it. So guys, as you can see, we have moved into the workshop, and what we're doing in this case is we're going to begin our filling and sanding process. Now for that, I swept up all of the sawdust we made from cutting our pieces down. And if you know, you can use some Gorilla Glue and just mix that up, and it'll create a good wood filler. Now for my miters here, I wanted to give you more detail. I am going to be using some Bondo wood filler. This stuff is just a little bit more strong, and it'll help me to kind of make those edges look a lot more professional. So just for the miter corners, I am going to be using that Bondo wood filler. Again, I used my planer before all of this, and now we're at the point where we can sand. Sorry. We're going to start with about 80 grit, and then we're going to work our way all the way up to 220 grit, and we should be good to prime and then paint after that. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, guys, so as you can see, everything is nice and sanded. It looks incredible. I mean, the power of sandpaper, a little bit of elbow grease, will take your project from looking amateur, like this is like DIY furniture, to almost looking like, wow, where'd you buy this? So that was the goal with that. I think it took it to another level, and it looks good. Now, as for finishes, this was free. I had this from a previous kitchen cabinet painting project. You can get this in a smaller size. You don't have to get the larger can for this project. This stuff goes a long way. So I've been using this for multiple different projects around my house. It is Sherwin-Williams Extreme Bond Primer. And then I also went back to Sherwin-Williams because I changed my mind. I was going to stain this originally. And I know, guys, don't crucify me in the comments. I know woodworkers are like, why would you cover up that beautiful wood grain? Don't get me wrong, guys. I love wood grain too. We are on a budget and we're on a time crunch. If I would have got the stain, it probably would have been around, I think, $150 for the stain pads and polyacrylic and all that. If you want the good stuff, you know, it's going to be around like $100, $150 for all the supplies. So instead, I'm just using this $22 all surface enamel from Sherwin-Williams. I have it in tricorn black, and I already had the primer, so that was free. So $22 for this entire finish, and it's going to hide all of my flaws. So things like my bad miter cuts, because again, guys, I'm not a professional. I just have a lot of finagling, so it'll hide my mistakes, and it'll make this look a lot, you know, nicer in that darker finish. But before we do that, I'm going to have to lug this beast up the stairs, and I'm praying that it fits up the stairs. So without further ado, I'm going to take this upstairs, get everything set up, and then we'll paint this in place. All right, guys, so we moved the piece up, as you can see. Had to take a little small break after that. That was a lot of work. But for this next step, we're going to go ahead and start to get everything prepped to paint. Luckily, there's nothing to tape off. So I'm just going to prop this up on some extra shim pieces that I have. And that should, you know, prevent any spillage or anything getting on the floor. And then, yeah, we'll roll into this time lapse really quick. So I'm just going to paint this up, and then we'll be ready to go. All right, let's go.